911, what's your emergency? 911, what's your emergency?
Be advised, Car 4 has control of the pursuit. Proceed with caution.
Hello, everybody. How are you all? It is so good to see you. We have had some really crazy weather here since about 3:30. So we've had tornado warnings, and it's been a bit wild again for Central Illinois. All of my friends over in Indiana and the Michigan and Ohio area, you guys are in for a treat because it's headed your way. Just be careful and be on the lookout for the weather tonight, you guys. Some of these storms are really packing a punch. We had a lot of hail, a lot of wind. It was really crazy for a while here. So it's quieted down right now, so I'm hoping I can get through this live stream. I don't know why it keeps happening to me that this happens right when I'm getting ready to go live, but I hope it's not an omen of some kind. But anyway, I'm so glad to see you all. I'm glad you're going to be here. I want you guys to know that tonight's going to be just the true crime discussion. We are going to talk about a whole bunch of different things going on in true crime. We are going to talk about Delphi. There's some stuff happening in Delphi. There's some interesting scuttlebutt on the street of Delphi. So we're going to talk about that. Things that I'm hearing kind of in the wind, so to speak. So I do want to talk about that. And we're just going to hit and miss on some of the cases that are going on out there. And then we're going to just talk about true crime news as well. So I've got a full night for us, and I hope you guys are ready to get caught up. Hey, Jill, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, Karen Bentley, how are you? Welcome. Hi, Sierra. How are you? Good to have you, my dear, as always. Hey, Mitzi. How are you doing, my dear? Thank you for being here. Hey, Melissa. How are you, my dear? How's your mom doing? Hey, CJK. I can't talk. Hey, CJK. How are you? Good to see you. Hey, Lisa. How are you? Yeah. Hey, Dave. Good to see you, my dear. How are you? Hey, Maria. How are you, my dear? Hugs and big hugs to you. Yeah, Jill, just keep an eye out. We had some really, really bad tornado warnings and high winds, lots of, like I said, lots of hail. The damaging winds have been bad, and the hail damage has been bad. So just keep an eye out for those storms headed your way. Hey, Julianne, how are you? Good to see you. Hi, Sees Through. How are you? So glad you guys could all make it tonight. Like I said, it will be a really interesting an interesting evening. We have a lot of stuff to discuss. A lot of stuff. And I know everybody wants to talk about Delphi, and I get all of that, but man, do we have a lot of stuff to cover. So we will get to it. Trust me. I hear you, Maria. I hear you. But yeah, there's some interesting things. There's the scuttlebutt's not specific. It's just that some people think that there's going to be a lot of things happening in the next few weeks in this case. I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means that somebody else might be involved. I don't know. But it's that's the word out there on the street, that there is something coming down the pike very soon. So we'll see. We've all heard it before. We've all heard this stuff for years. There would be rumors out there about this person or that person, or, they were going to have an arrest was going to be made, or they were going to have a news conference or whatever, and nothing happened. So, I'm not holding my breath, but oh, Maria, I worry about you. I just do. I worry about you. It's been crazy. Hey, Shane, how are you? Good to see you. Glad you're here with us. So, let's get into it. I want to pull up a couple things. Hold on. I actually have this all planned out, so hopefully it'll go really well for us. One of the things that I wanted to bring up tonight to you guys and talk a little bit about, and just let you know, I'm following this pretty closely because it's in my neck of the woods. But the missing U.S. Navy sailor who's been missing from Chicago, they found him in Lake Michigan and in Waukegan. And I don't know what's going on in Chicago, you guys. I really feel that we may have an active serial killer in Chicago. I really, truly do. I think we may actually have more than one. I think we have one that's targeting women, and I think we have one that's targeting young men. Seamus Gray is 21 years old. He was a Navy sailor, a U.S. Navy sailor, and he went missing. And his body was recovered on Wednesday evening. The deputy police chief, Scott Chastain, said that officers were on a traffic stop around 7:08 p.m. on Wednesday near the Waukegan Harbor, where when a ComEd worker flagged down the officers, and the workers were reported they were doing routine work near the harbor when they spotted a body in the water. And an officer went into the water to attempt a water rescue and was able to bring the body to shore. The Waukegan Fire Department responded and retrieved the body further onto shore, and Chastain said the body and clothing matched the description of Seamus Gray, 21, who went missing on March 18th after he left a downtown Waukegan bar. Lake County Coroner Jennifer Benek said late Wednesday evening that the body was positively identified as Gray. And the coroner's office did say that they've been in contact with his family. He was an active duty member of the U.S. Navy, and he was seen leaving a bar called Ibiza on 17 North Genesee Street in Waukegan, Illinois, early on the morning of March 18th, and walking away. He was seen walking away from the bar. They have scheduled an autopsy that was supposed to take place this morning. Surveillance footage from the early morning on March 18th showed him traveling eastward from that bar. He was later seen on video walking by himself along the edge of Lake Michigan at the Waukegan Harbor. Gray was a U.S. Navy fireman recruit assigned to Surface Warfare Engineering School Command at the Naval Station, Great Lakes. He did not report back to the base at his assigned time of 2 a.m. on March 18th. The Waukegan police said last month that should Gray have gone into Lake Michigan, his body would not likely come up for a while due to the very cold temperatures and cold water that we had at the time. The incident remains under investigation by the Waukegan Police Department, the U.S. Naval Criminal Investigative Service, and the Lake County Coroner's Office. I'm just going to quickly show you. Well, I thought I was going to quickly show you. Where did it go? Where did you go? Hang on, guys. Sorry. Here it is. Oh, that's why, because it's not fitting on the screen because it's too big. Okay, this works. I'm going to show you his picture real quick. I want you guys to be able to see who we're talking about. So this is a picture of Seamus Gray. And here is a picture of him in uniform right here. This is a picture of what he looked like when he went missing. So, but I am really concerned about this because hang on a second. We're going to watch a quick video here. I'm just trying to get it up on my screen. Hopefully everybody will be able to hear it and the sound will be good. Let me present my screen. Okay, guys, I'm going to turn my sound all the way up, and we're going to watch this. Okay, guys, I don't know what's going on with why you can't hear it. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. Um, I Everything here says you can hear it. If I record my screen and record it for a video, it records just fine. So I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. I stream my live streams directly through StreamYard. They go directly to YouTube. I don't know why. But anyway, I'm going to stop showing videos. That's why I don't, is because for whatever reason, you guys can never hear them. And it's really frustrating for me as a creator because I can hear them when I record it. Like I'm going to record a video and just put a video out instead of a live stream. They play just fine. So I don't understand why you guys all can't hear it. So it is weird. I have talked to YouTube. They said I'm not doing anything wrong. Everything is set up right. So I have no idea. But anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about there has been 11 recent young men between the ages of 20 and 30 who have been found in the Chicago waterways, whether it be the Chicago River or it is actually Lake Michigan itself, deceased. They are all young men between that age bracket, and it's all revolved around some sort of use of alcohol or a party, or and they were at a bar. And it seems like they are all being kidnapped, held for a time, or kidnapped and something is done to them, and then they end up murdered and disposed of in waterways. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the smiley face killer, but the smiley face killer has been associated with these murders. And I don't know if that's what's going on here or not, but I do know that these missing men that have been found deceased are pointing to a serial killer that is at work in the Chicago area. There is just so many things that don't make sense, and it all is pointing to one person, because the way they're being found, how they're being found, where they were before they went missing, it's just all tying in together. And it's very concerning. And there's actually an attorney who is working hard and diligently, and that's why I was trying to get you guys to listen to about this whole thing. And her take is that over the past actually 20 years, there's over 600 missing young men that were found deceased that they could attribute to some sort of a serial killer over a multiple state area in the Midwest. And she believes that there is definitely an active killer, and possibly more than one, by the stuff that they're putting together, because they're taking the information from each of these cases, they're entering it into a database and of its own, and they're coming up with so many similarities in these cases, and it has them highly concerned. Now, we've already talked about on my channel about a possible serial killer at work in Chicago that is strangling women. And we already know that that's been happening. So I think one of the things about this possible serial killer with the young men is there's not just one or two people in power that believe this. It's becoming the talk everywhere. There are just tons of people, whether it be reporters or police are even talking about it now. It's just, I think there's people that are actually working on doing a documentary to talk about this. And everything that I've been hearing, this has the makings of some super scary true crime mystery because of the amount of young men that have gone missing. And all year long, these dead men just keep washing up in the Chicago River and nearby in the city's areas by Lake Michigan, on the shoreline or in the actual harbor. And they can't actually, some of these bodies, they're not able to actually find any true evidence of foul play. It's not completely evident, but there's so many similarities. And they, because of the, like I said, they're all young men. The age range is the same, and they're found in these waterways. People are beginning to really get nervous. We found 2 more bodies just this month, and the Chicagoans are really beginning to think that their city is being stalked by this particular serial killer. And there's even talk online that, people that frequent the downtown area of Chicago, whether it be to party or whatever, they're telling everyone online, their friends through social media, don't go there by yourself. Don't go walking along the beaches. Don't go down for town for the nightlife, and leave a bar and go out by yourself and just walk off, because it's not safe. So between 2022 and now, most of these cases are completely unsolved. They have no idea what has happened to these young men. 25-year-old Peter Salvino's body was discovered by the Chicago police in Diversey Harbor, and it's one of the many inlets from Lake Michigan on the city's north side. Salvino was a doctoral student at Northwestern University, and he went missing the night of Saturday, December 17th, while he was walking home from a party. His discovery came to just 2 weeks after the death of 21-year-old Polish man Krzysztof Schubert, who was found unresponsive at the city's Oak Street Beach, which I've been there many times, 2 miles south, just after he had left a Christmas party. Authorities have yet to determine what happened to either one of these men. The list just goes on and on and on about these men. In January of 2022, 23-year-old Inaki Baskarin was found in the Chicago River after disappearing around Halloween. In May, University of Illinois Chicago students Daniel Sotelo and Natalie Brookson were both found just weeks apart in Lake Michigan. And in May, on May 31st, also in May, 31-year-old Eden De La O was retrieved from the Chicago River after disappearing from the city's Brighton Park neighborhood. In April, 3 bodies were recovered in 2 days. 2 were in the river and 1 in the lake. Nearly all of the bodies retrieved from Chicago's waterways are young men, and their ages are somewhere between 20 or early 30s. Several of the victims were last seen at the bars in the city's River North nightlife district, including Baskaran and Schubert. None of the causes of these deaths have been solved as yet, but for many Chicagoans, these patterns are glaringly obvious, and they're convinced that this serial killer is stalking their city. One person tweeted, "The amount of men in their early 20s that have gone missing this year is absolutely insane. The fact that no one is screaming about this is ridiculous. Their bodies are then found in the lake hours later after they go missing. There's huge red flags. Where is the police? Where's the public outcry?" Another put it a bit more plainly, writing, "There is a serial killer on the loose in Chicago who is killing men who visit River North bars and then dumping them in the Chicago River or in Lake Michigan." Many are growing increasingly frustrated that the city's authorities and media seem reticent to address the obvious patterns. One Chicagoan tweeted, "They're pulling 20 and 30-year-old males out of the water in Chicago, what seems to be almost every single weekend. I feel like there's a serial killer on the loose, and there's been little to no coverage on this." Another echoed the sentiment, tweeting, "Are we just going to ignore the serial killer targeting men and disposing of their bodies in the Lake Michigan and the Chicago River?" Chicago has its own history of serial killers, most notoriously those of John Wayne Gacy in the 1970s, and another who was for a time believed to be linked to a string of Stockton, California murders. But the city has also had a string of some 50 unsolved stranglings in the 2000s, many believed to have been perpetrated by a serial killer they call the Chicago Strangler. Chicago authorities have maintained there is little reason to suspect foul play in any of these recent deaths that are reviving serial killer rumors. Still, it's impossible to ignore and not feel completely unnerved by these patterns. And I have to agree wholeheartedly with them. And it makes you wonder if, because some of these individuals are not white males, but they are of other ethnic backgrounds, if that has anything to do with the fact that nobody seems to care. The Chicago Strangler is an unconfirmed serial killer or serial killers believed to be responsible for the deaths of a number of women in Chicago. Since 2001, 50 women between the ages of 18 and 58 have been murdered in a similar fashion within the city of Chicago. The victims were predominantly, no, Maria, they have not. The victims were predominantly Black, typically employed as sex workers, and have often previous experiences with the justice system. Nearly all of them have been strangled, partially or fully stripped, and then left in abandoned buildings, alleyways, garbage bins, parks, and snowdrifts. 25 of the cases were closed by police, resulting in the arrest of 13 men. A large number of the strangulations were committed in just 3 police districts located on the south and west side of Chicago, areas with histories of violent crime and drug use, such as Washington Park and Garfield Park. They have been very common locations for these murders to occur. This pattern was recognized in 2018 through the Murder Accountability Project, which did review 50 unsolved strangulations and asphyxiation cases dating as far back as 2001. This algorithm used by MAP sorts unsolved homicides by location, victim, and killing method in order to identify clusters associated with low homicide clearance rates. According to MAP, these factors could be indicative of an active serial killer. The police response has been very, very strange. But following pressure from activists, the Chicago Police Department has announced the review of 51 unsolved murders of women. The CPD claimed there was no evidence that a serial killer was responsible for any of the 51 killings. It just seems like it's just not high on their priority list. And it's really sad. Hey, Josh, how are you? It's good to see you. Hey, Frank Meister, how are you? And I saw Tech Death sneak in here. I saw him. How are you? So good to see you. Cool, Dustin. It's awesome because somebody needs to be talking about this. Somebody needs to be figuring out what the heck is going on, because it's so upsetting to constantly be hearing of these young men going missing and nobody seemingly caring about it. That's just my take on it. Yeah, Mitzi, I hear you. I mean, it doesn't matter what they are, what their sexual preference is. It doesn't matter if they're in the sex trade. It doesn't matter, if if these young women are doing that. I'm sorry. They don't deserve to be murdered. I know you're not saying that. I'm just saying this is so upsetting to me. That there is this mindset out there that because these individuals may not make the best life choices, that they deserve to be murdered. It's just insane to me that so many people can just be up and murdered in these kinds of numbers, and there's not a public outcry about it. It just, I guarantee you, if they were all high society people that were being killed and murdered at this rate, something would be done. Something would be done. Somebody's head would be on a chopping block, for a better way to put it. So moving from Chicago, we're going to move right over to Texas and into Austin. And we're going to talk about what's going on in Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas has its own serial killer situation. And the 8th body was found in a Texas lake this past week. And more fears mount of a serial killer who's out there targeting young men. An 8th body was pulled from a Texas lake on Saturday, sparking fears that a serial killer could be on the loose, although police say the evidence doesn't show the deaths are related. Police are going to say that, you guys. They don't want to scare the cities. Their biggest thing is to always say that there's not a serial killer until they absolutely are forced to. So that doesn't surprise me. During a press conference earlier this week, Officer Michael Bullock with the Austin Police Department confirmed that law enforcement found the body of John Christopher Hayes Clark, age 30, in Austin's Lady Bird Lake at around 1:25 p.m. on Saturday. Hayes Clark was the latest victim found after law enforcement pulled 7 other males' bodies from this lake over the past 10 months. Our homicide unit did respond to the scene and are investigating this incident. As of right now, it's a very unfortunate incident, but up to this point, we have not discovered anything suspicious tied directly to this incident. I just don't get it. Our initial information doesn't show anything suspicious, but we don't make that final determination until the medical examiner has been able to make their review as well. So he's saying this without even having an autopsy done. Police, it reminds me of Stephen Smith. Police said previously the deaths were coincidental, but the community is in outrage and they want more answers. All victims are male and all are close in age and appear to have frequented the same area in Austin near the Rainy Street Entertainment District before they died. Other victims found dead in this lake include Jason John, age 30, found deceased on February 13th, 2023. Cliff Axtell, age 40, found deceased on March 5th, 2023. Jonathan Honey, 33, found deceased on April 1st. And 4 more unidentified bodies have been found within the last 10 months. Schron reports that speculation has been increasing in Austin and surrounding areas concerning a possible serial killer, with social media groups focusing on the deaths. The intense speculation prompted the Austin Police Department to respond to the situation, although there still remains no evidence that the deaths are related, police keep reiterating. One common theme of the drownings in Austin this year is the combination of alcohol and easy access to Lady Bird Lake, adding that the autopsies have not revealed any trauma to the bodies or indication of foul play. It's currently unknown whether toxicology reports are available on the victims. And the Austin Police Department went as far as to put out on their Twitter a statement that said, "The Austin Police Department is aware of speculations regarding the recent drownings in Lady Bird Lake. Although these cases are still under investigation and evidence is being analyzed, at this time, there is no evidence in any of these cases to support allegations of foul play. While each incident has occurred at the lake, the circumstances, exact locations, and demographics surrounding these cases does vary. Our investigators approach every case with an open mind and objectivity that they examine all available evidence. We work closely with the Travis County Medical Examiner's Office, which conducts a parallel investigation into all deaths. The medical examiner performs autopsies in each of these types of death investigations. The results of these autopsies have not revealed any trauma to the bodies nor indication of foul play. One common theme of the drownings in Austin this year is the combination of alcohol and easy access to Lady Bird Lake, which has numerous access points. Many of the access points can be challenging to see at night. These parks in which most of these drownings have occurred are park areas that close at 10 p.m. and occur after the park closes. We are advising the public to follow the rules on park closures. Every time I hear about a body, I feel like it's more painful. You know, when I think about another, it is just heartbreaking. Jason John's mother, Elsie, told Fox 7. Bullock assured the community that police will continue to investigate these deaths. Meanwhile, the interim city manager is looking into installing halo cameras in the area and is working with local bar owners and managers to prevent the overserving of alcohol to patrons. This story is ongoing and developing. I just don't know what to say. Something's not right. And I just think that it's real easy to just pass it off and say, well, there's no definitive evidence of foul play. When you have that many people being found dead in a lake within that many months, there is something wrong. And I just don't know. And like I said, it's not happening just in one location in this country. We have it happening now in 2 locations that I'm aware of. So I just, it's just really sad, you guys. It's just really sad. And like I said, now we have another area, you know, I just don't know. I don't know. I just know that we need to keep following it. People keep needing to talk about it, and we need to keep putting it out there and force the pressure onto these police departments to get their act together and figure out what's going on. Even if there were 15 suicides in the last 10 months of bodies being in the lake, I would think that they would want to check that out and figure out why and what's going on, what's happening. That is a lot of people floating around in your waterways. I just don't get it. One of the other things I wanted to let you guys know, which I thought was great news, actually, a Washington court reinstated the $100 million verdict against the state in the death of 2 boys. A Washington Court of Appeals reinstated on Tuesday of this week the jury's $98.5 million verdict that was awarded to Susan Cox Powell's parents, who sued the State Department of Social and Health Services for negligently failing to protect their grandsons. In the wrongful death lawsuit, Judith and Charles Cox alleged that the state did not do enough to keep their 7-year-old and 5-year-old grandsons safe from their father, Joshua Powell, who killed the boys in 2012. This case was so horrific. Jurors found the Department of Social Health Services negligent in July of 2020 and awarded $98.5 million to the Cox family. DSHS argued that the money and that the amount of money was excessive and outside the range of on-record evidence. Later that year, a Pierce County Superior Judge reduced the damages to about $32.8 million. The boys, Charlie and Braden Powell, were killed in 2012 by their father, Josh, during a supervised visit at his Graham area rental home. He kept a social worker out of the home, attacked the boys with a hatchet, and set fire to the house, killing all of them. And I'm assuming the boys, I believe the boys were killed with the hatchet before the fire was set. Josh Powell was being investigated at the time in the disappearance of his wife, Susan Cox Powell, who went missing in 2009 and is presumed dead, as her body has never been recovered. The boys were in custody and control of the DSHS at the time of their death, and Josh Powell was allowed supervised visits. DSHS contracted with Foster Care Resources Network to secure a supervisor for the court-ordered visits. This case is hard. Sorry, guys. In February of 2012, DSHS learned Powell was likely going to be arrested in the near future in connection with Susan Cox Powell's disappearance and presumed murder. According to the opinion, Charles Cox, the boy's grandfather, called one of the social workers and expressed his concern about the boy's safety. The opinion said. The social worker assured him continued visitations were fine because nothing had happened in the past. Days later, Powell killed the boys. The Cox's lawyers asked the jury to award $5 million for every minute of conscious pain and suffering the boys endured, based on the testimony from a medical examiner. The jury returned a verdict totaling $115 million for both boys' estates, which was reduced to $98.5 million. DSHS later claimed the damages awarded were too high and that the verdict was a result of passion and prejudice. The Coxes argued that Pierce County Superior Court judge erred in concluding that the jury's damage award was not within the range of substantial evidence. Appeals court judges agreed. There is substantial evidence supporting a significant award of non-economic damages based on the horrific and brutal deaths that both Charlie and Braden endured at the hands of their own father. Ann Bremner, who has been the Cox's attorney for over a decade, said the family is gratified the jury's verdict was undisturbed. It's been a long time, Bremer said, calling the opinion beautifully written. The state has 30 days to appeal the decision to the Washington State Supreme Court. And for those of you guys who don't know or aren't familiar with this case, with Susan Powell's case, the 911, Shane's right, the 911 audio of the social worker calling while he was killing the boys is absolutely horrific. First of all, the 911 worker should have been fired. He kept asking her repeatedly the most stupidest questions imaginable when she was frantic to get help, because when she took the boys up to the door with their father, she was supposed to go inside for the supervised visit. He slammed the door in her face, shut in her face, and didn't allow her in the house. She knew immediately the boys were in danger and that something bad was going to happen. And the 911 caller, or the 911 operator, just wasted valuable time. And she got so afraid. She heard the screaming that was going on inside when he was killing the boys. And she got off the porch and went towards her car when the house blew up into a fireball, basically. It was just insane. And if you haven't had a chance to hear that 911 call, that was all it was for me in that case. But I'm so glad that they upheld the verdict in the case. Dave, you be safe out there tonight. You hear me? Oh no, Mitzi, I didn't misunderstand you. I wanted you to know that I totally didn't think that you were at all trying to say anything. I just get so passionate about these marginalized victims that people just assume it doesn't matter. They don't matter. And I'm tired of it, actually. One of the other things that I wanted to say, that this is just, I'm sure you guys have heard the story by now. I did too, Josh, or CJK. I did too. I feel bad for the social worker. I can't imagine what she had to live with. She loved those boys and was really wanting what's best for them. I felt that for sure, just listening to her. And she was a supervisor, and she was trying to do everything right. But she was dealing with a psychotic person. So, and the judge that allowed him to even see his children when they already knew that Susan was probably dead and he did it, is just ridiculous. That's what got me. So, yeah, it's just awful. So I don't know if you guys heard about Kaylin Gillis or not, but Kaylin Gillis is the woman who was 20 years old, who was murdered on Saturday night after Kevin Monahan fired 2 shotgun rounds from his porch in Hebron, New York, into the vehicle in which she was a passenger. This is another story that is just off the charts. The man who was responsible for fatally shooting this upstate New York woman after the vehicle in which she was a passenger mistakenly pulled into his driveway, has shown no remorse, police say. Kaylin Gillis died Saturday night after he fired the 2 shotgun rounds from his Hebron, New York porch into the vehicle in which she was riding with her boyfriend. Monahan, 65 years old, has been charged with second-degree murder in connection to her death, and she was a 20-year-old aspiring veterinarian. Her boyfriend said they really thought they were at the right address. This is a very rural, mountainous area. His attorney, Kurt Mausert, did not immediately respond to interviews by the news media, but he did tell WTEN-TV that Monahan was involved in a series of tragic mistakes made by more than one person that resulted in the death of this young woman. Mausert said he feels terrible that a life was lost. It is unclear if he entered a plea to the charge on Monahan's behalf. Monahan was denied bail Wednesday, according to WRGB-TV, citing District Attorney Tony Jordan. There is a possibility that more charges against this man may be filed. During a press conference on Monday, the Washington County Sheriff Jeffrey Murphy said when deputies arrived at the scene, the suspect was not cooperative. He would not come out and talk to the patrol officers. Now Murphy has also accused Monahan of lacking empathy for Gillis's killing. He quite frankly has not shown any remorse in this case, Murphy told CNN. Gillis is memorialized in her obituary as an animal lover and a Disney fanatic who knew every movie, hero, and princess ever created. She left this world far before her time. Her hopes and dreams left with her due to a senseless act of violence. And a celebration of life is planned for her this coming Friday. I don't know what's going on in this country, you guys, but the fact that people are choosing to use weapons to kill people for the silliest things. Somebody pulls in your driveway to turn around and you shoot them. I mean, I'm sorry. There is something wrong with people. I don't get it. I don't understand it. We've got this one. We've got the young black man who went to retrieve his siblings and ended up at the wrong house. This kid was a upstanding kid. He was getting great grades. He was a musician. He was a good kid. He goes up to the wrong door, goes up on the wrong porch, and an 80-year-old man shoots him. And the grandson of this man has come out and said his grandfather is a QAnon crazed nutbag and a racist. And he's 80 years old. He said he was scared. Because the kid is 6 foot tall. And I'm just like, I'm sorry. It's just mind-boggling to me. I will never understand it. So now we have one that I thought was kind of interesting. And again, this is going to probably surprise you, because those of you that have not heard this one is even crazier. Oklahoma County Commissioner resigns after leak of audio discussing killing journalists and lynchings. The McCurtain County Commissioner Mark Jennings has quit his office of Governor Kevin Stitt says. An Oklahoma County Commissioner who allegedly was caught in leaked audio recordings making death threats against 2 local journalists and talking about lynching Black people has resigned from his position, the state's governor has said. The office of Kevin Stitt said Wednesday that it has received a handwritten resignation letter from County Commissioner Mark Jennings of McCurtain County, who said he is leaving his post immediately and planned to release a formal statement in the near future regarding the recent events in our county. The development came as the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation said it launched its own investigation into the matter at the request of the Republican governor. The McCurtain Gazette News released portions of an audio recording following a March the 6th County Commission meeting in which Jennings, McCurtain County Sheriff Kevin Clardy, and Sheriff's Captain Alicia Manning appeared to discuss reporters Bruce and Chris Willingham. Jennings could be heard telling Clardy and Manning, "I know where 2 deep holes are dug if you ever need them." And the sheriff responds, "I've got an excavator." Jennings also said he's known 2 or 3 hitmen in Louisiana, and they're very quiet guys. In the recording, Jennings also appears to complain about being unable to hang Black people, saying they've got more rights than we do. The Oklahoma Sheriff's Association told News 9 that it has suspended all 3 individuals in the recordings following an emergency meeting. The McCurtain County Sheriff's Office, however, said Monday on Facebook that many of these recordings, like the one published by media outlets on Friday, have yet to be duly authenticated or validated. Our preliminary information indicates that the media-released audio recording has, in fact, been altered. The motivation for doing so remains unclear at this point, and the matter is actively being investigated. In addition to being illegally obtained, the audio does not match the transcription of that audio, and it is not precisely consistent with what has been put into print. However, the ABC News outlet states that they would not release the audio tape because of the horrific language that was being used on it and to describe the killings of these journalists. McCurtain County residents held a protest in Idaho on Monday after the comments surfaced over the weekend. Stitt announced Sunday that he was seeking the resignations of Clardy, Manning, Jennings, and jail administrator Larry Hendricks another person reported to be in the recordings. I am both appalled and disheartened to hear of the horrid comments made by such officials in this county. There is simply no place for this hateful rhetoric in the state of Oklahoma, especially by those that serve to represent the community through their respective office. KWTV reported that the FBI launched an investigation into McCurtain County regarding these released recordings. Bruce Willington, the longtime publisher of the McCurtain Gazette News, said the recording was made on March 6th when he left a voice-activated recorder inside the room after a county commissioners meeting because he had suspected the group was continuing to conduct county business after the meeting had ended. And that is in a violation, direct violation of the state's Open Meeting Act. Chris Willingham, a reporter at the paper, is Bruce Willingham's son. These are the two men that were talked about on the recordings as far as them being wanted to be murdered. I talked on 2 different occasions to our attorneys to make sure I wasn't doing anything illegal, Bruce Willingham said. More than 100 people gathered outside the McCurtain County Courthouse in Idaho on Monday, with many of them calling for the sheriff and other county officials to resign. So, guys, it's just not Carroll County that has issues. I'm serious. Can you even imagine? But this is the kind of thing that happens in small towns all over our country. Small towns and small counties. And it is unbelievable. Hey, Steffa, how are you? So good to see you. So good to see you, my dear. I just, like I said, I don't think I will ever understand the hate that you have in people's hearts because of someone's color of their skin or their sexual orientation or their ethnicity, or their religious beliefs. I don't understand it. I hear you, Maria. I was on fire when I listened to the recording and sadly not surprised about it in rural Oklahoma. How many small towns, law enforcement agencies across this nation are headed up by people like this? Exactly. It's one of the reasons why the Flora Fire has not been adjudicated. It's the one reason I firmly believe it, because we have this kind of mentality in that county. And I will continue to say it. Josh says, I've been in barbershops throughout a certain region of the U.S. If some people's latent attitudes were to come true, goodness talk about setting back the clock. Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. I mean, it's 2023 and we still act like it's the 1940s in the South, the deep South. It's just crazy. Just crazy. So hold on a second, guys. That's not. So, just regarding Austin, I forgot about this part. I just wanted to let you guys know that they have set up, the residents are so terrified that they have set up Facebook groups and taken to TikTok to voice their growing fears that these deaths are connected, that are happening in Austin, Texas. The private Facebook group called Lady Bird Lake Serial Killer has more than 50,000 followers. And it was created when Jason John's body was discovered in February. The autopsies are not available to the public. Police are saying their bodies show no signs of trauma. Just because their bodies do not show signs of trauma does not mean that they weren't murdered. There's a lot of ways to kill people without showing trauma. And so I just thought that it was something that was interesting, because the residents are upset, and they're out there creating Reddit posts, Reddit subreddits, and Facebook groups to talk about this, because obviously no one in their community seems to think that it's a thing. Yeah, David, I don't know what the answer is to how to eradicate the hate from people's hearts. I don't know that we ever will be able to in this world, but it's gotten worse, in my opinion. I don't feel in our society as it is today, and I consider our society not barbaric like things were back in the Middle Ages. I'm not going that far back. I'm talking about I feel that we're civilized now, and for a civilized nation who likes to proclaim that we're the greatest place on earth and the greatest country on earth, we have some of the worst hate I have ever seen and witnessed. So I just, like I said, I just really wish that people could open up their hearts and be more kind to one another, because kindness doesn't take anything to be kind, and it's just, it is what it is. I did want to tell you about one other thing, and then we're going to get into Delphi. Megan McDonald murder case. An arrest was made in her 20-year-old cold case. And she was a New York Police Department detective's daughter. She was 20 years old when she was killed. An Orange County resident. Her body was found in a field in Wallkill on March 15th, 2003. Her story was the subject on a Dateline last year. A 42-year-old New York man has been arrested in the 2003 murder of Megan McDonald, whose baffling case was featured on Dateline ahead of the solemn 20-year anniversary of her death. New York State Police announced Thursday that Edward Hawley of Wawayanda in Orange County had been charged with second-degree murder in McDonald's death. He would have been in his 20s at the time and said he had dated her. "I'm definitely not guilty," an orange jumpsuit-clad Hawley said as troopers pushed his wheelchair from the barracks toward a waiting car. "I loved her with all my heart. They're framing me like some monkey, but it's all good." Two women in the crowd showed their support for Hawley when asked by NBC of New York what he wanted to say to McDonald's family. Hawley said, "I didn't do it. I loved Megan." He was arraigned in the afternoon and remains behind bars without bail. Authorities identified Hawley as McDonald's former boyfriend and said he had a strong motive for killing her, though they didn't elaborate on that at the afternoon press conference. They say he was already in county jail for violating probation stemming from an October 2021 narcotics arrest when he was charged in the McDonald case. Details on the information contained in the warrant and what exactly led investigators to Hawley after 20 years weren't immediately clear. But state police said there was no sudden shift, only saying that Mr. Hawley had a strong motive to commit this crime, and that DNA evidence linked him to their murder. It wasn't one specific piece of evidence or information that brought us to this day, Bureau of Crime Investigation Captain Joseph Kolek said. It was the culmination of all the pieces over the course of the last 20 years that led us to this day. Kolek did go on to say that police believe that this crime was intimate partner violence. Holly owed Megan a substantial amount of money, state police said, and that the pair had recently broke up at the time of her death. McDonald's family, some of whom were in tears, didn't mince words after police announced the break in the case, something that they have been waiting for the past 20 years. He forever will be billed a monster and a coward, said James Wayland McDonald's brother-in-law. Do not let his current appearance fool you. This is a vile human being. Strangely, especially given the scope of the investigation, Orange District Attorney David Hoovler said the arrest was made without his office having consulted with police, which is generally the standard operating procedure in criminal cases for the county. Once a defendant is charged and held in custody, the grand jury must vote an indictment within no longer than 6 days from the date of the arrest, or the defendant must be released. For that reason, complicated cases are normally at least partially presented to a grand jury before an arrest is made, Hoovler said. The preferred practice is for police agencies to coordinate with prosecutors on serious cases. Grand jury presentations on cold homicide cases involving complicated fact patterns can rarely be commenced and completed within 6 days without prior coordination. Hoovler appeared to criticize the state's police decision to make the arrest without telling his office, saying that the family of the victim and the entire community deserve to have homicide cases handled in the best way possible to provide the greatest opportunity for the offenders to be held accountable. He added that his office will prioritize the investigation and the prosecution. McDonald's body was discovered on March 15, 2003 in a field in Wallkill, just outside the city of Middleton. Her car, a white Mercury Sable, was found 2 days later in a parking lot in the Kensington Manor complex, also in Wallkill. McDonald, who lived in Orange County, was a 20-year-old SUNY Orange County Community College student at the time of her death and had worked at the Galleria Mall in Middletown. She died of blunt force trauma. Her father was a retired New York Police Department detective, and he died in 2002, a year before she was killed. And the NYC Detectives Endowment Association had offered a $10,000 reward, as did the FBI, for information leading to her killer. McDonald's story was the subject of Dateline last year, in which detectives discussed the latest developments in the case. McDonald had a conversation with two people she knew who were throwing a birthday party for her in Wallkill near Greenway Terrace. They supposedly tried to get her to join this party, and she refused. Detectives told Dateline that people who attended the party later reported those two people had come back and told the rest of the group McDonald left to spend time with other friends in Middletown. She ended up at her friend's home, where they stayed until about midnight. According to the Dateline report, she told friends she had to go home because she had to get up early for work the next morning. The friend didn't see her again, and detectives told Dateline McDonald apparently went back to that party instead of going home. She left pretty quickly, telling two other friends she was going to hang out with somebody, detectives told Dateline. According to the report, they watched her drive away, and that was likely the last time that she would be seen alive. In a later interview, an initial witness had a new detail. New York State Police Detective Brad Natalizzo told Dateline a vehicle with a loud sound system that had been seen behind McDonald's car. The witness only noticed it because the volume was so loud, according to the Dateline report. It was likely a dark car that looked like a Honda Civic hatchback. McDonald's family had just started to worry when they hadn't heard from her, and she didn't show up for work on March 14th. The next day, Natalia told Dateline that people who own property on Bowser Road called police to report a body, and investigators identified McDonald by her driver's license and say they believe that she was killed in that very field. She had been murdered in her own driver's seat. Her father spent 20 years with the NYPD and did some homicide detective work there, but died of a heart attack in 2002. McDonald's sister, Karen, told Dateline he was 47, and she told the show that watching him work over the years made her confident that investigators working on her sister's case would not give up until it had been solved. Seeing what my dad would put into these cases and how it affected him personally and the care that he brought to the cases, Karen said, I feel for police officers that have carried this for years for my sister. And I know that it's more, it's more personal to them at this point. There apparently had been a second suspect, and that individual died. Investigators have amassed nearly 1,000 pieces of evidence over the course of 20 years. And Natalia told Dateline the hope was that the forensic advances in DNA technology would eventually lead to new leads. It's not clear if that car was linked to Holly's arrest, but Kolick says his DNA was linked to a crime scene. Information on a possible attorney for him wasn't immediately available. So there we have another cold case that has been solved. Hey, Babs, thank you so much. How are you? So let's get into it and let's talk about Delphi. So there were some motions that were made today on Richard Allen's case, and people have been talking about them. And one of the things I wanted to let you guys know, hey, Thistle Do Nicely, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah, Mitzi, we certainly do. People were asking when these motions came out, what was the difference between subpoenas and a subpoena duce tecum? And I was going to give you that difference. So when you see a subpoena is an order that is issued by the court that requires the attendance of a witness to testify at a particular time and place. But a subpoena duce tecum is an order that requires a witness to bring documents, books, or other items under his, her, or their control that he, she, or they is bound by law to produce and to evidence. The subpoena process is available to compel the attendance of a witness who may otherwise be uncooperative. And the same is with the subpoena duce tecum. That just makes the witness bring the evidence that whoever is bringing the motion is trying to secure. And it's basically a subpoena to produce documents. So they may need to identify the person, the third party or organization, whatever that third party is, that they believe have the documents that they want. And then after they do that, then they subpoena them to produce said documents when they come to court. And these are the documents that you're wanting or that you wish to introduce into evidence, and describe what information those documents may contain. In both types of these subpoenas, you have to state why the testimony and the documentation are supportive of the issues in your petition or objections, and why you believe the witness may be either unwilling to appear or provide the documents voluntarily. The hearing examiner assigned to your case will review your application for one or both subpoenas to determine if the witness or documents are relevant to the matter. And that's basically how that works. And that's exactly what happened today in Richard Allen's case. Hold on one sec. So my good friend Fig sent me this earlier today. So there was a motion filed from the state to subpoena third-party records, and they filed the subpoena ducis tecum, which is what I just explained to you, and they want that third-party person to come into court and bring those documents with them that they have requested. And there was also a motion to prohibit public access to a court record filed by the state of Indiana. Just so you guys know, that was in regards to the motion by the defense, that emergency motion to modify the safekeeping order. Well, the state of Indiana filed a motion to prohibit public access to everything regarding that safekeeping order. So there's a lot of motions going on here. There's a lot of talk about what this means, what's going on here. What's happening. These things are all normal procedures that happen in a trial process as they're getting prepared for trial. There could be a lot of different documents or third parties that they're talking about in Richard Allen's case here. One of the things it could be, somebody asked or said today that possibly it was medical records, but I don't think so, because that falls under HIPAA. And in a HIPAA situation, Richard Allen would have to sign off on his medical records being given to the court. And I don't believe that that's what this is, because if it was, I think they would have a different type of a hearing where they would have to set that up regarding the HIPAA situation. I think this is going to be more along the lines of them looking at documents, possibly time card documents from CVS that can place when Richard Allen was working, when he left work, all of those kinds of things. It also might be documents from cell phone companies, or documents that are related to the witnesses, so that they can prove where the witnesses were at the time that they're stating they were by certain things. So it definitely could be, cell phone records. It could be, what's it called? I'm trying to think. Geofencing. Hopefully they're using, some sort of geofencing to try to get whatever these records are that they need. But, I know everybody wants to jump at every single thing that happens in this case. We're going to see all kinds of these kinds of motions over the next months, and maybe years before this case makes it to trial. These are normal. These all are normal things that happen in these cases. I don't see anything in my mind that makes this, odd or weird. There's a couple of things, though, that I did want to bring up. that when I was going and looking at certain information, and I was over posting some stuff on Reddit today for my subreddit, Delphi's Daughters, I was looking around and there was a post made by Fretless Mayhem in Delphi Murders back 5 days ago, I think. And the question that they posed was, what do you think Bridge Guy did for 1.5 hours? And I really wanted to go over this post because I thought it was really relevant, especially since we just recently went over the timeline for Richard Allen. And this is the post, basically, you guys. And again, this is from Fretless Mayhem is the user. Hi, everyone. Something I've wondered for a while is what Bridge Guy was doing for the 1.5 hours or so at the crime scene. I've never really seen this addressed before. We know that the video from the cell phone occurred at 2:13 p.m. or so, and a man who closely resembled Bridge Guy, muddy and bloody, was spotted walking back in the direction of the suspicious car at the CPS building around 3:57 p.m. That leaves around 1.5 hours at the scene, assuming that it's true and that there was no sexual assault. I've been curious as to what could have possibly been going on for that long. It wouldn't have taken long to actually conclude the horrific act that occurred, or at least I don't think so. And 1.5 hours is quite a bit of time to have to be out in a public park in broad daylight doing whatever it is that was done. Anyone have any information on theories about this? They edit it for clarification that it's my assumption that the muddy and bloody man witnessed leaving the general area at 3:57 p.m. is Bridge Guy. So people went on to answer this post, and there's a lot of different things. I want to go over a couple of them. But again, people brought up the fact about staging and posing. And I wanted to make sure that everybody remembers that staging and posing are not the same thing. And when we're talking about these cases, we need to make sure that we keep that. Hold on a second. I don't know what's going on here. We keep those separate, and that we understand that they are not one and the same. It's important for that, you guys. Sorry, I'm sitting here in the dark. There we go. I was having trouble with my screen. Sorry. What did I do? There we go. Just when you think you got it right and you have everything your document that you need, it disappears on you. So we need to understand that staging and posing are two different things. So to pose a crime scene is to have them left in a desired position, for example, sitting or something to that effect. But to stage a crime scene is to have the bodies placed in such a way that would misdirect the investigating officers, or in an attempt to redirect or misdirect the investigators from what is actually happening at the crime scene. Staging is often done to get them on a different trail, or to make them think something else happened here, or was the reason something happened here than what really was. And I've always said since the very beginning that I felt if there was no sexual assault of the girls, that it is quite possible that the crime scene was staged to make it appear that there was. And that to make it appear that it was that kind of a crime. Now, given what we all know, and, you know, for the last year on my channel, I've tried to do a lot of education with you guys to let, you know, to let everyone know, just because there's not an actual physical sexual assault in a murder situation does not mean that the crime is not sexually motivated. These predators, many of them, for one, can't perform sexually. They have problems with that. And number two, for them, the violence itself is what sexually motivates them or gets them off, if that's the way you want to look at it. So sometimes you will hear where someone staged a burglary in a murder scene. You know, they flip over tables and furniture, and they open drawers and pull things out and throw it all around to try to make it appear that it was a burglary gone wrong, a burglary that was trying to, you know, they surprised them or whatever. And when actuality, there was no burglary, but they staged the scene to make it appear as if there was one. So that's one of the things that we need to remember when we are talking about it. And it's so funny, some of the dumb comments that you get on this very subject. I'm sorry. But, you know, I was watching, I don't know if you guys, I think you guys know, because we talked about it a few lives ago. I talked about Ken Maines had, he was going to give up YouTube and social media altogether because he's just tired of the trolls and tired of the negative comments and people trying to tell him how to run his channel or how to be on his channel. Hey, Miracle Hearts too. Good to see you. So good to see you. Well, anyway, Ken did another video, and I happened to watch it a couple nights ago late. And as I was listening to him, I was just kind of laughing because as a content creator, I know where he was coming from. You get these people that just leave you sometimes comments or emails that are just, you just wonder where these people come from, you know, where they get there. And Reddit's no different. I mean, you get the same kind of comments. Under one of the comments that was under this post, a person said, hold on a second. This is just because it just cracks me up. Hello, where are you? Oh, they said, people need to stop talking about staging and posing. The technical term definitions are meaningless and are not adhered to with 100% perfection by the media and everyone else. The technical term definitions are meaningless? No, they're not. Where do you come from? Technical terms are there for a reason. They're not meaningless. And when people don't use them properly, it changes the whole definition or meaning of something. It's just like when we're talking about signatures. When you don't understand what a true signature is in a murder, or a crime scene, you can't have a signature on a first-time crime. Period. That's not how signatures work. And so it is important for people to understand what they're, you know, like I said, I just laugh. But anyway, if you guys get a chance, check out Ken Maine's newest video. He is going to remain on social media. He is going, but he turned off all comments. He's not going to allow any comments on anything anymore. I know how he feels about that. There's times when I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this. There's been times when I thought, even there was a time probably maybe 6 months ago, maybe 5 months ago, 6 months ago, before Richard Allen was arrested, where I was really being, had a lot of troll hits, a lot of stuff. And I thought, you know what? I don't even think I'm going to go live anymore. I just think I'm going to just do videos because it was just becoming ridiculous. But I have a really good moderation crew, and I have really good people who follow me and who subscribe to me that help to keep our chats kind and professional, and we don't abuse each other in here. I don't want that. That's not why I started YouTube. And I know people say, oh, well, you put yourself out there, so you have to take it. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have to be abused to be here on YouTube. That is not what this is all about. And we don't have to take it. There are many things that we can do to keep it from happening. And one of them is to not go live. And one of them is to not let you comment and just put out our content. Is that how I want it to be? No, I wanted to be able to interact with adults, people who actually care about these cases that we cover, and people who offer up information and good insights and theories. And I always like to hear what everyone else has to say. So anyway, I don't know what happened to Ken. I was in contact with him last year. I'm going to email him and see what's going on with him and just make sure he's okay, because I'm a huge fan. I really do like him. And he's just raw. This guy is, he's an ex-cop. He's an ex-undercover cop. He doesn't put up with crap. I don't blame him. He doesn't have to put up with abuse. And I think he started feeling it when he started covering all of the recent cases. He started talking about all the new cases in the news. And that's when this stuff started happening to him, because before he was always just all about the cold cases and working cold cases. And what reminds me of him with this is it reminds me of Perry from Faxx, because Perry is not vocal in the way that Ken Mains is, because Perry is so soft-spoken and kind. But I guarantee you, when he was undercover, he wasn't soft-spoken. I can see that in him. And, these guys went through a lot in their careers and put a lot on the line. And, Ken Mains has been on TV. He has been on the History Channel. He is very well known. He's very well respected in the true crime community and the true crime world. Does he make mistakes, or is he perfect? God, no. But none of us are. So anyway, so one of the things that I thought stuck out in the comments on this post on Reddit was from the original poster, and went back and said, I went back and reread the Ron Logan search warrant a bit ago, and I noticed something that never clicked before. And it specifically states that when the girls didn't show up to leave at 3 p.m., the families began a search of the area shortly after 3 p.m. I'd imagine that they likely walked the path yelling the names of Abby and Libby. This would have been occurring while Bridge Guy was still in the woods at the scene. Though the site is a little bit of a ways from the bridge and the trail, I wonder if he heard them. The animation posted above has him exiting the site around 3:47 p.m. Well, Richard Allen said he was at the trails between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. I can't imagine that he would not have heard Derek hollering for the girls. When he did is probably when he said, I got to get out of here. When he realized that somebody was on the trails screaming for the girls. Oh, thank you, Lewis. I appreciate you. I like to interact with my subscribers and the people who come to my chat as well. And as long as they're respectful and kind, I will interact with them. If they don't want to follow the rules in the channel, then they can go somewhere else, because you know what? I don't care. I said it 1,000 times and I will continue to say it. Trust me, I am not here for the fame or fortune. There's no fortune, guaranteed, guarantee you. I will say it over and over again. Unless you are a true crime person, as some of the true crime channels that are doing the huge donation type nights where they're just drawing in tons and tons of donations to their channels and giving them to charities and things like that. Or they're getting a flock of that. And I mean, you have to have a lot of subscribers. And I mean, we're talking a lot, over 100,000, in my opinion, to make any money on YouTube doing true crime. First of all, for those people that don't understand, all of the money that's made on YouTube is through ad revenue. People watching ads on your stuff. So if you don't make your channel monetized, you're not making any money if you don't monetize your channel. But if you monetize your channel, the number one way in true crime that you're going to make it is through your subscribers and members, your paid memberships, and your subscribers donating to you. And I don't ask for tons of donations. I don't do that. I don't think it's right to do that. If people want to support me that way, great. Thank you. Because I do pay subscriptions. I have the equipment that I use to do this. All of that stuff costs money. And it's time consuming, and my time should be worth something. But at the same time, that's not why I started my YouTube channel. I don't have anything wrong. I don't hold it against anyone who's out there that's making bucks on YouTube. I don't. If that's what they want to do, fine with them. Fine, be it. It's not me to be the YouTube police to say what should or shouldn't happen. What I would like to see is the people be more vocal about the content that they're seeing rather than channels who are monetizing. So, I mean, there are a lot of true crime channels out there that are huge. I didn't realize how many were out there. Who keeps banning and blocking you? Who keeps banning and blocking you? It's okay to, hi, Sylvia. It's no problem. Thanks, David. You are super kind to say that. Thank you, David. You are fine. You can email me all you want. I know that there's people out there that are doing good work and are in this for all the right reasons. My channel has rules. You guys see them. I hope you guys are seeing the rules. And that's all you have to do. Follow the rules. And the guys and the women who are here for me every live stream, who spend their time to come in here and try to make sure that we all have a good evening and learn things from the live streams that I do. I couldn't do the shows without them, because it's really hard to stay focused on what my topic is, what I want to talk about, and maintain decorum and everything going on in the chat. So they help me do that. And so does Nightbot. I think there was somebody in here earlier complaining about Nightbot. I'm sorry. Nightbot is my friend. Nightbot absolutely helps me. So, Mitzi, thank you so much. I do care. I care very much about these cases and about these people, and the voice, and being the voice for the voiceless. So I don't know if you guys thought about any of that, but I thought that was interesting about the fact that, hearing them yelling for the girls could have been a reason for Bridge Guy, or for Richard Allen, as we now know, to have left the scene when he did. But with the question about what this person thought maybe he was doing for an hour and a half, we don't know, because we don't know. We've not been told enough about the crime scene. We know that there was something there that caught all of them by surprise, all of the investigators involved by surprise. So whatever that was so shocking that Robert Ives said you would want to take photos of the crime scene. I would think that once you committed a crime like this, that your adrenaline would be high, that you would be extremely agitated. I can't even imagine the amount of adrenaline it would take to do what he had to do to both of these girls. But perhaps he had to wait to calm down. I mean, who knows? I don't think there were a lot of smart decisions made by him that day. And I know that it seems like he got away with this for 5.5 years. But I really believe the more and more I see everything going on around this case, I honestly believe that there was some serious mistakes or mishaps made in the very early beginning days of this case that caused them to overlook him. And they saw him, either if they did know about him, they saw him as that good, kind guy that works down at the CVS, wouldn't hurt a fly, never been in trouble, doesn't have a history of violence, or doesn't have, has never been arrested, whatever. That's what they thought, if they knew who he was. If they didn't know who he was, then shame on them, because there wasn't enough investigation work done on those tips. Because it, like I said, if we go by what is in the PA, and it talks about this person who interviewed him back in 2017, that person's notes was, they made a note that they needed to go back and interview the 3 juvenile girls that Richard Allen told them he saw. That was more important in his note than the fact that Richard Allen just placed him there at this crime scene wearing the same freaking clothes that the guy they were looking for was wearing, and placed himself on the bridge. I mean, that's, you know, and I've had many people ask, and I've seen it over and over in many different chats. There was one on Sleuth's chat just not too long ago about why didn't he dispose of the jacket? What kind of criminal keeps a jacket that was covered in blood? You know, what are you thinking? Why would you do that? So we don't know if he got rid of it or not. We know that his wife told investigators last fall in October that he still owned a blue Carhartt jacket. And we also know from Steve, our good friend Steve at True Crime Web, that because of all of his experience as a crime scene investigator, a police officer, and all of that, that yes, they could still find the girl's DNA on that coat all these years later. So I'm just saying. You know, there's just so many things. They said the crime scene was so bloody. What did he do to stage it? What did he do because they said in the Ron Logan search warrant that the crime scene was staged. It wasn't posed, it was staged. So that makes you want to know, what did he do and why did he do that? What was the reason for that? And, you know, somebody said, well, maybe he was looking around for the spent round that was, or the unspent round that was out on the ground. Trying to find that is going to be like trying to find it in a needle in the haystack. You got leaf litter all over the ground. It's cold. It's, you know, it's in the woods. It was a little bit of a warmer day, but they had snow. I don't know if this was still wet. From what I can tell, it was wet and mucky, kind of like it would be around a creek in the creek area at that time of year, which is, you know, obviously he's going to be muddy if he had to walk through the creek and then walk through the mud to get up the hill. But there's just so many things, you know. Sure, if he noticed that had happened, would he have looked for it? Sure, he could have tried to find it, but trying to find it is going to be very difficult. So as far as what did he do, there are so many answers to that question. You know, there's just a lot of different answers to that question. The other thing I wanted to bring up is in the, I was going through the Delphi Murders subreddit, which is the largest subreddit on Delphi on Reddit. And there was a post made by No Man is an Island. And this post was made 3 days ago. And I think that this post is very, very interesting and telling. So I wanted to go over this one. We have good reason to believe that Mr. Allen is not the only actor involved in this heinous crime. Prosecutor Nick McClelland. At the 11/22/22 PCA hearing, Prosecutor McClelland states not just reason to believe, but good reason to believe there are multiple actors involved. That's a strong statement. I'm not sure what this person's talking about, the November 22, 2022 PCA hearing. But maybe he did say that. I'll have to go back and look at that hearing. 2 years into the case, the task force introduced their change in direction at the April 22nd, 2019 press conference. The task force spoke directly to the killer and said, "You never thought we would change direction, but we have." That fits Richard Allen to me to make that statement. The task force introduced a new sketch, new age range, and a limited psychological profile. Per law enforcement, the decision to release the second sketch was influenced by a combination of the following: new evidence, intelligence over time, witnesses, and new technologies. In addition, the totality of the crime scene influenced their psychological profile and how the task force addressed the killer. Every word in that press conference had its intent and purpose. From a purely physical, descriptive, and psychological profile standpoint, it's my belief that the 4/22/2019 change in direction press conference was not aimed at identifying someone in the vein or likeness of Richard Allen, but any additional suspect. The new Young Bridge Guy sketch and age range released didn't match Richard Allen. The second sketch depicted a younger person in the age range of 18 to 40 with curly hair. It doesn't resemble Richard Allen in age nor appearance, and Richard Allen has never sported curly hair in his lifetime. If you look at Richard Allen, he was in his early 40s when this crime was committed, or mid 40s when this crime was committed, sorry. Like 42, was it? He's 50 now. So 43 or 44. Anyway, it doesn't resemble Richard Allen in age nor appearance. I think that both sketches look like Richard Allen. And Richard Allen has never sported curly hair in his lifetime. The limited psychological profile provided in the 4/22/19 press conference does not reflect Richard Allen. We don't know that. Ives references a bizarre, strange crime scene with non-secular signatures, and posing, in my opinion, does not depict the likes of Richard Allen. Again, it's not posing, it's staging. As we know from the Ron Logan search warrant, they didn't say posing, they said staging. In addition to the above potential suspects, we're seen at multiple entry points or vantages. The current PCA was aimed at obtaining a search warrant for Richard Allen only. The task force or prosecutor didn't need to address details related to other potential suspects or actors. I don't believe that potential suspects were seen at multiple entry points or vantages. That has not been proven. That has not come out in anything that we've heard from law enforcement or the witnesses. The sketches, in my opinion, reflect separate individuals. With the exception of Superintendent Carter, the task force from the first press conference has stressed the likelihood of multiple suspects. When asked if there are multiple suspects or POIs, Burston replies, we only see what's in front of us and not what's over here or over there. There's the likelihood of more than one involved. Burston didn't say that. What Burston said was, he explained that when you're looking at that video, that you can only see what's in front of you. It's like a TV screen. You can't see what's over here or what's over there. And I think what he was trying to explain at that point was that when, excuse me, when we were seeing the picture of Bridge Guy on the bridge in the video, we couldn't see what was over here or who was over there because they didn't want us to. First of all, it was the girls. And when they have the video of him approaching the girls, I don't think we see that because they didn't want us to see him brandishing the gun and holding the girls at gunpoint. I don't think they wanted us to see that. And I think that that's why it wasn't shown. And that's my opinion. Burston said that they had not ruled out the fact that there could be more than one person involved. Now, Tobe Lesenby himself has said that. He has come back and gone back and forth on this multiple times and said that, that they couldn't decide one on that. In other words, what Tobe said at the 4/29/20 Carroll County Comment article, the two sketches, which varied greatly from each other, were supplied by two different people near the scene on 2/13/17. We all know that eyewitnesses can see the same person and describe them completely different. That's how we work as human beings. We all see things differently. He indicated both images are of persons of interest in the investigation. On whether more than one perpetrator is involved, we go back and forth on that. Sheriff Lesenby said he still believes a local committed the crimes. Lesenby said whoever did this knew the lay of the land. He said when an arrest is made, which he believes will happen, community members will likely be shocked at the identity of those arrested. He said he believes the perpetrator will likely be someone who is fairly well known in the community. And I guess that is true because Richard Allen worked at the CVS and most everyone in that town probably knew him or knew of him because they had interacted with him. Per the 4/22/19 Task Force ISP Bulletin, the sketches are of two separate individuals. Well, that's because those sketches were done by two separate people. Hey, Fig, how are you? So good to see you. I'm so happy you're here. I talked about you earlier. So this person says they've always leaned towards at least two with knowledge and or involvement in the actual murders. The arrest of Richard Allen hasn't swayed that opinion. I suspect with any additional arrest, the community will feel shocked betrayal from multiple angles. My opinion only, but I suspect the additional actor or actors currently reside out of state with very strong ties and familiarities with Delphi, Carroll County, the trails, and the bridge, hiding under the guises of both military and the church. Additionally, I thought the atmosphere of the 10/31/22 press conference was rather unusual. I've never witnessed such a deflated press conference surrounding the announcement of an arrest of a suspect in a nationwide case. I don't sense the path to peace or healing for the families or community can be fully realized without finalization that all actors are accounted for and the truth known. The arrest seemed like just another step in a chain of events. Lastly, and on a completely different side note, I believe there exists a nuance in this case, and that particular nuance has absolutely no bearing on these crimes yet still exists. It's the type of nuance that law enforcement might attach a proceed with caution and certainty flag next to it. Hopefully to date, this peculiarity hasn't played a role in the actions or inactions or timelines of the task force. This is strictly my thoughts only and are not to be taken as fact. And I just have to say that I'm not sure what's going on here, but I think there's a lot of things that may come back to haunt the prosecution in this case. And we've talked about this before. But when Nick McClellan stood up there on the arrest announcement day on my birthday on October 31st and said that he believed that there were other known actors in this crime was huge. And for him not to be able to prove that or come up with them is going to be extremely short-sighted and a problem for him at trial. I think that nothing in the PCA supports anyone else being involved. Now, we all know that just what's in the PCA does not necessarily mean all the evidence that they have. And I firmly believe that they have other evidence. I believe that the PCA completely spells out Richard Allen as the bridge guy. And I'm just going to say that. But is he the sole man that was identified, spotted by witnesses, and his presence was corroborated with timestamped security video of him arriving and departing? Yes. But nothing in the PCA alludes to any other suspects. In fact, it makes it pretty clear that there were no other possible suspects on the scene at the time that anyone saw. And I want to make sure that we preface that, because nobody that we know of this time has talked about any other person being seen. And unless or until another arrest comes, we have to wonder why the prosecutor in this case would have tried so hard to keep that PCA sealed. And he took it a step further and had the gag order motion put in place to restrict the First Amendment rights of everyone involved in this case, to prevent them from speaking to anyone about the case. I can get the gag order. I totally and absolutely understand it. I don't think that we have the right at this point in time to know everything. I don't think that we ever should know everything until a case comes to trial. In fact, one of the things that that the Canadian laws does, once an arrest has been made and the arrest is announced, you never hear anything about the case until it goes to trial. There's no talk about it. There's nothing. It is absolute dead silence. And to me, that affords the defendant the best possible outcome at trial, because they are innocent until proven guilty. But what if the reason that all of this is being done to keep everything quiet and subdued in this case is strictly to protect the investigation of the case? The fact that they did make major stumbles, and they still had problems of not identifying Richard Allen when he was right under their noses and had already put himself there. These are very important questions. They are continuing to operate in secrecy because they're filing, as of today, to even seal routine motions, transfer requests. There's a person on Reddit who says it's now clear to them why law enforcement remain tight-lipped and secretive about this investigation, and why they fought so hard to keep it all sealed and top secret. It's a scathing indictment of their incompetence. They failed to investigate the most obvious suspect, and the suspect identified himself to police. He is the one and only man they have ever identified as being on that bridge near the girls during the window of time the murders occurred. He and only him was spotted by 4 separate witnesses who all gave accurate matching descriptions of this guy. Short, graying, wearing jeans and a blue jacket. Police had credible leads that would and should have identified Richard Allen as a suspect from the very start. And they failed to do that. And a killer went free for nearly 6 years because of it. And that's why they fought so hard to keep everything sealed and silenced. And this person believes that they've even lied to try to keep it sealed. And unfortunately for them, the judge disagreed, and now they claim that claim may come back to haunt them. And so a person asked a very good question: why would the PCA have details about anyone else, though? It's literally only about Richard Allen and reasons why he might be a part of the crime, nothing more, nothing less. And that's what it's supposed to be. And this person says, no doubt that they screwed up somewhere, but Ricky was right there from day one, but the PCA is definitely not going to be everything they know. And we've said this over and over and over again. We don't know everything that they found in all of the searches. We don't even know basic facts about the crime scene. Further actors wouldn't need to be there to be implicated. They could have been a part of it well before or afterwards to cover it up. And those things are all very true. So I was just reading what this one person said. Sorry. Interesting. Somebody's claiming that Bitter Beat Poet, which is a Redditor who is no longer with us, claimed that the Young Bridge Guy sketch came from a paranoid homeowner nearby. The person providing the sketch happened to be a close relative to the sheriff, which is Tobe Lesenby. I'm guessing the ISP didn't initially consider the tip because they didn't see it as reliable. I'd speculate they only went back to it because of some jockeying from the sheriff and only after they ran out of other leads. And basically the gist of that is that the witness saw a man on their property at the south end of the bridge the morning of the murders. The property is about 0.5 miles from the crime scene. And they also described the person as having dark skin and never saw him again. But that has never been proven or made factual. We don't know from law enforcement if this person actually ever gave these reports. These are the things that were so much rumors that was around this case early on. So, like I said, if you look at the photographs that are around of Richard Allen from 2016, he was a well-tanned guy who was out, looked like he'd been out in the sun a lot, looks like he liked to go out hiking and doing things like that. He also wore sunglasses. So people have asked that as if he wore sunglasses. And yeah, he did. There's pictures of him with them. So up on his head, I think. I don't like when people call prosecutors liars or say that they're lying. I think that's a detriment to the case. So I'm not going to buy into what this person said about Nick McClellan lying about whether or not there are other actors involved. and that was his way of getting the PCA sealed. I don't think he would risk the case by doing that, but I think that they wanted to make sure that they didn't miss anything. And if there was any other people involved, they wanted to make sure that they did fully investigate that. That's kind of where I'm at with that. So those are just some of the things that I found today when I was going through this case and trying to figure out a lot of the rhetoric that's out there about Richard Allen. But, and I agree with that, Dave. I do. They don't want to tip off another person involved. But I guarantee you, if there was somebody else involved, the arrest of Richard Allen would tip that person off. They're going to be like, holy crap, they got him. You know? So it's yeah, Mandy, he did. Yeah, he did. But there we are. I mean, that's where we are right now with everything with Delphi. That we're going to, like I said, we're going to continue to have these motions. We're going to continue to have this stuff come out. Now, I have heard from 2 separate people that I trust, people that are close to the case, that told me that they think that something is going to be coming out soon, something new, new development in the case. And like I told you, we've all heard this before. You know, we've all heard that there's going to be a press conference. There's going to be this, there's going to be that. And it's never happened. So I take all of that with a grain of salt until it does. But we just have to, keep paying attention and just keep watching to see, what's going on. I did want to tell you guys, for those of you who have not been with me for the full year that I've been on YouTube, I did a case last spring, and I am going to be bringing that case back to the forefront here in the next week, probably on Tuesday of next week. I'm going to do a show on it. And hold on one second. I need to look at something. Just give me a moment, okay? I just got a message and I need to look at something real quick. Okay, sorry. I was looking up something and I'm sorry, you guys. Didn't mean to do that. But anyway, So the case that I'm talking about, I covered last spring, and the case was very important. The case that I covered was very important to me because he is the cousin of Fig Solves, and Tristan Thomas Baudet is the case that I covered, and he was killed while camping with his 2 young toddler daughters in the Malibu Creek State Park. And he was a really famous research scientist. And it's a really sad case. And I am going to cover it next Tuesday, just so you guys know, because his killer is, his trial is coming up in a few weeks. And so I want to go back over it again. And Fig allowed me to cover his cousin's case. And it was, it's a very emotional case. It's a really sad case. And I just want to go over it again because the trial is coming up. I will be covering the trial. And I just wanted you guys to know that. That's what's coming up on Tuesday. I haven't decided for sure what my show will be about on Saturday, but I will let you guys know. I appreciate, I love Fig to death, Lisa. He's a great person, and he deserves support through this. It was not easy for his family, and you know, he's a great person for true crime. He's been wonderful in the Delphi community, in the Flora community. And so, yeah. I think that's pretty much it. I hope everybody stays safe out there. I appreciate everyone. Hey, Jerry, how are you? Good to see you always. Hey, Ray, how are you? So anyway, but anyway, thank you for being here tonight. I know it was a lot. I know it's been a long live, and I apologize. I had a lot that I wanted to cover. Hey, Fig, love you, my dear. Love you so much. And you guys stay safe out there. Be kind to one another. If you have a case that is not getting the attention that you feel that it deserves, please email me and let me know. I'm always willing to look at new cases and give voices to those cases so that other people can become aware of them. But please take care of yourselves. And I will see you guys all on Saturday. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. And thank you so much for all of your support of the channel. To all my moderators, please have a good evening and be safe out there. And thank you for giving me your support. Tech Death, if you're still out there, my dear, thank you so much for your music. You guys, you get to hear it every night on the intro, and you get to hear it every night when I leave. So Tech Death is amazing. Thank you guys. Good night.